بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Al-Fiqh al-Istidlali, the section on fasting. As you remember, we were talking about letting thick dust reach inside, going through throat and reaching inside. And our discussion was about what Sheikh has quoted from Safar, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Safar, from Muhammad ibn Isa, from Sulaiman ibn Ja'far al-Marwazi. Here doesn't say who actually was the person that mentioned these to Sulaiman ibn Ja'far. قال سمعته يقول. We don't know who was that person. The text is إذا تمضمض الصائم في شهر رمضان أو استنشق متعمدا أو شم رائحة غليظة أو كنس بيتا فدخل في أنفه وحلقه غبار فعليه صوم شهرين متتابعين فإن ذلك له مفطر مثل الأكل والشرب والنكاح. If this is accepted as a hadith and sanad is strong, then it says that if someone puts water in his mouth to refresh, for example, but throw the water outside, or in the nose but doesn't let go inside, let it come out, or it smells strong fragrance, or starts cleaning house and then dust reaches his or her throat through nose and mouth. If any of these happens, must fast 2 successive months, because this is muftir, like eating and drinking and marital relation. خب, we said يشكل بضعف السند بالمروزي. This has problem in sanad because of Marwazi. We don't know how reliable was Marwazi. إلا بناء على وثاقة كل من ورد في أسانيد كامل الزيارات. We said last session that one of توثيقات عام, general ways of verifying narrators, is to see whether Ibn Qulaway in Kamil al-Ziyarat has quoted a hadith that includes this person or not, because he was committed to mentioning only reliable hadith, and he was an early scholar, and if he has said these people are reliable, so we can trust. Or some people say we can trust if there is no conflicting evidence. If there's conflicting evidence, no. But if there is someone that we don't have anything against it, and we have this person in Kamil al-Ziyarat, they say we accept it. This tawthiq am. So Marwazi has actually been cited, mentioned in Kamil al-Ziyarat. So then if we verify him accordingly, then there is no problem in narrators. But هناك إشكالات أخرى. We reached here. There are other objections. The first objection is ما في المدارك والحدائق. In Madarik al-Ahkam by late Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmad Khunsari and Hadaiq by Bahrani, we have that من أن الرواية مضمرة. This riwayah is mudmara, means we don't know who is the last person. Some people are so great among our ulama. There are some narrators of hadith that they are so great that ulama say this person would never quote something from other than imams. These people were in touch with imams and narrated many hadiths from imams, and they were never narrating something for others from non-imam, and then the next person narrates from him, and then the next person narrates from the one who has narrated from him something from a non-ma'soom. They don't do this. So for some people we are sure. But Marwazi is not one of those people that we can be sure that he would only quote from imams. ليس الراوي من أجلاء الأصحاب, يعني من those companions, means those Shia who are jalil, who are great. الذين لا يليق بهم الرواية إلا عن المعصوم. Some of our ashab, some of our ashab here doesn't mean companions in the sense they use for ashab. It means ashab al-ta'ifa, means Shia narrators here, for example. Sometimes can be Shia scholars. So he is not one of those great members of community, great scholars or narrators, that because of their greatness it is not suitable, it's not expected from them to narrate from non-ma'soom. خب, this is one problem. أجيب عنه. Then some ulama have tried to give answer to this question or objection. Sahib Jawahir, he says this izmar was not there in the beginning. So when Marwazi quoted from a person whom he had mentioned, and then the next person, etc. But because at some point when they wanted to organize these hadiths, compile them and not to repeat too much, so they were doing taqatiyah, they were cutting, they were separating. For example, maybe the hadith was 1 page or a few lines. Part of it was, for example, about tahara, part of it was fasting, part of it was another issue. Then they were putting each part in different section. Hope in one sense it saves time, but on the other hand there is problem that sometimes when they do taqti, something may be missing, or something which is mentioned before can shed light on this one. This is why the late Ayatollah Uzma Burujerdi had this idea, and he started this project and asked some of his great students, great mujtahideen, to help with that project of compiling Jami'u Ahadith al-Shia, Jami' Ahadith al-Shia. And the idea was that to bring these hadiths together and put them together and quote them together, not in a, like pieces. خب صاحب جواهر says أن الإضمار ناشئ من تقطيع الأخبار فلا يضره. He says this hadith has become muzmara. We don't know who is the ma'soom because later this is cut into different parts. So there is no harm. Of course, we will come back to each of these and we will explain that still there can be problem. Number 2, meaning the same question is replied in a second way. The same problem of izmar. This is a second answer. Sheikh Rezai Hamedani Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayh, one of our great fuqaha who was known for his very nice writing, very clear, and his writing flows very well. He has Kitab al-Salat and Misbah al-Faqih. He's a great scholar. Sheikh Rezai Hamedani and some others, they have said the fact that our ashab have mentioned this as a hadith. This has been mentioned in the books of hadith. Safar has mentioned in the book of hadith. Sheikh Tusi has mentioned this. So this shows that they have taken this as something from ma'soom. If it was saying of another person, not ma'soom, they would not put it in the books of hadith. ما ذكره الشيخ الحمداني وغيره. Others also have mentioned. For example, here quotes also from Mustamsakul Urwat al-Wuthqa by Ayatollah Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim. They have said that أن ذكر الأصحاب الرواية يعني ذكر الأصحاب لهذه الرواية أن ذكر الأصحاب الرواية في كتب الأخبار شهادة بكونها من المعصوم. The fact that our ashab, our narrators, etc., have mentioned this hadith in the books of riwayah, the book of akhbar, kutub hadith. This is a testimony that this is from ma'soom. Otherwise they wouldn't put it in books of hadith. وأوضح ذلك بعض الأعلام, which he refers to Ayatollah al-Uzma Khuy rahmatullah alayh. They have said that Sheikh Tusi, remember, let me go back to the hadith, we had here ما رواه الشيخ بإسناده عن محمد بن الحسن الصفار. Between Sheikh and Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Safar there is gap. Sheikh is not quoting directly from Muhammad ibn Hasan. He was not a teacher of Sheikh, was not a master of hadith for Sheikh. This is a book by Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Safar that Sheikh is quoting from. Okay? And we know that Sheikh has a special channel for receiving this book. We call it Mashikha. So for example, if he quotes from a book or one of Usul Arba'ah which were earlier than himself and his generation, we know that how he has got it. So الشيخ نقل الرواية عن كتاب السفار, because Safar has book of hadith. وقد صرح في المشيخة, Sheikh himself in Mashikha of his book where he mentions how he has received the books, because our ulama didn't just say that I have this hadith from this book. They made sure that there is no disconnection, there is no gap. So if that book was written by their own sheikh, that's easy. If that book was written by someone 2 generations before, not just 1 generation, 3 generations, 4 generations before, they say every person between them and the book. So Mashikha is that part of the book that he mentions these, channels to the books, so that people can know. If you don't agree with the sheikh about those channels and say this person I don't accept, then you don't accept it. The good thing that they have preserved, and if you rely on sheikh's mention, and if sheikh has verified them, yes, but sometimes sheikh maybe himself has not verified them. He has just reported so that other people can look into it. Because we believe in testimonies of Sheikh Tusi, because he was very early and his testimonies are very important as like hissi for us. Anyway, قد صرح في المشيخة أن كل من صدر السند باسمه فالرواية منقولة من كتابه. Sheikh Tusi has said that every person that he has mentioned at the beginning of sanad, at the beginning of chain, Sheikh Saddar Sanada Bismi Hadar Rajul, for example. Like here, Saddar Sanad, what is the beginning of this sanad? Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Saffar. So Sheikh has said, whatever I have quoted from Hassan ibn Saffar, means whatever sanad is there that I have put him at the beginning of sanad. Riwaya man ar-riwayatu manqulatun min kitabihi. That means riwaya is taken from his book. Khob. Now we realize that it is Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Saffar who has reported this hadith or this text. And Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Saffar wouldn't quote something unless it is hadith, because his book is for hadith. لا يحتمل في حق السفار أن يورد في كتابه. Which kitab? الموضوع للأحاديث. The book which is designed, موضوع sometimes means fabricated. When they say a hadith is mawdu', it means it is fabricated. But here, mawdu' means designed. A book which is designed for hadith, collections of hadith. خب لا يحتمل في حق السفار أن يورد في كتابه الموضوع للأحاديث حديثا عن غير المعصوم. It's not possible. لا يحتمل. There is no such probability that Safar includes in the book that he has designed for collecting hadith, to put a saying of non-ma'soom. If he wanted to put sayings of non-ma'soom, should have become much more than this book. Why only this hadith or few hadiths from others? Khob. So 2 replies to the problem of izmar. One was from Sab Jawahir, that this izmar is because of taqti'. Let us see first, is this correct or not? Shaykh Irwani says, وَيَرْدُ عَلَى الْجَوَابِ الْأَوَّلِ. The issue of taqti'. Before I read the text, I explain so that it's easier. He says, okay, suppose it is because of taqti'. How I can make sure that before taqti was ma'soom? The maximum you can say is, okay, you can say that this was mentioned. Who was the one who said this to Marwazi was mentioned, but when they made it into pieces, that is missing. Okay, suppose that it was the case. But who was that person? Was he ma'soom or not? Unless this first answer goes back to the second, then it becomes like the second person. You said that these people don't quote from non-ma'soom. But just to say that it is muzmar because of taqti doesn't solve the problem. Suppose there was a name that was not known. There is no izmar, but it's not solving the problem. Who is that person? Is it ma'soom or not ma'soom? يرد على الجواب الأول أنه وإن كان مسلما, although taqti is musallam, it's accepted, taken for granted, لكنه لا يكفي لإثبات حجية الرواية, but this is not sufficient for proving the validity of رواية إلا إذا ثبت أن المسؤول في أول الرواية, unless it is established that mas'ul means the one who has been asked for, from, who was questioned, who was asked from. If you can establish that in the beginning of riwayah, means just before the text of hadith, the very first person before the hadith, after Marwazi, before hadith, if you can establish that person was ma'soom, okay. But if there was a person and because of taqti is not mentioned and that person was not ma'soom, then it's not helping us. And here there is such a ihtimal, such probability. من المحتمل أن يكون غيره. It's possible that it's not ma'soom, it's غير المعصوم. خب فالجواب المذكور, this issue about taqti, أبرز نكتة لا تثبت بها الحجية, expresses a point that is not sufficient to prove validity. Validity cannot be proved with this. فإنه, let us explain it more. إنه, in هذا الجواب, أبرز نكتة التقطيع بينما أغفل النكتة التي تبرز الحجية. Okay, has mentioned the point about taqti, but is heedless, doesn't say anything about what can prove validity. And that is, the one that can prove validity is كون المسؤول في أول الرواية هو المعصوم. We need to establish this. You establish that someone was there, and because of taqti is not mentioned. Okay, no problem. But whether that person was ma'soom or not, this is another issue. خب. The second point that Haj Agha Reza Hamedani and others have mentioned was that أن ذكر الأصحاب الرواية في كتب الأخبار شهادة بكونها عن المعصوم. The fact that our ashab like Hassan al-Saffar, Muhammad ibn al-Saffar has mentioned means that this is from Ma'soom. خب. وعلى الثاني. So this is Sheikh Irwani's answer. Of course, maybe other people have also mentioned this. I'm not saying he, mentioned this by himself from beginning. Some of them maybe from himself, some maybe others also have mentioned. But this is the answer anyway. أن اجتهاد الصفار وغيره أن اجتهاد الصفار وغيره ليس حجة علينا. Ijtihad of a mujtahid is not hujjah for other mujtahideen. Okay? Ijtihad. For example, if Sheikh Tusi, with all his greatness, if he makes ijtihad about validity of a hadith, about other issues, if it is ijtihad, it's not hujjah for others. If Sheikh Tusi reports, does ikhbar sam'an wa ta'a, because we trust him in his report. But if he does ijtihad, he's not ma'soom. His muqalladin should follow him, but other mujtahideen cannot follow him. Okay? Every mujtahid has to do his own ijtihad. Khob. Safar rahmatullah alayh had the idea that this is hadith from ma'soom. That is not hujjah for us. أن اجتهاد السفار وغيره ليس حجة علينا. Yes, if yaqeen or itmi'nan is less than 100% probability, but so close to 100% that you are practically sure, you can almost sure, there is no reasonable doubt. There is maybe 1% or less than 1% doubt, but you are almost sure. It's called itmi'nan. For some people, sometimes we say dhannul muta'akhamu lil yaqeen. So this is also close to itmi'nan. If someone says it's not a matter of ijtihad, yes, ijtihad by itself is not hujjah, but this is not something complicated for Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Saffar. He was so close to the time of Ahlul Bayt, and he was a person who was very experienced in this field. If he says something is hadith, I can be sure. You say hujjiyatul yaqeen zatiyatun. If someone is sure 100% or close to 100%, that's fine. إلا أن يدعى حصول اطمئنان or اطمئنان with hamza, if it becomes مخفف تخفيف الهمزة becomes ya. حصول الاطمئنان من ذكر الأصحاب لها في كتب الحديث. If someone says no, I am sure that because ashab have mentioned the books of hadith, this is hadith. Okay, if you have yaqeen, that's fine. But whoever has yaqeen, that's fine. But maybe I don't have yaqeen, he says. أُحْدَةُ ذَلِكَ عَلَى مُدَّعِي. So the responsibility is on the shoulder or neck of someone who claims that he has itminan. Okay, you have itminan between you and Allah, you can say I had itminan. But if someone has no itminan, then no. Kho. Then here he says something that the text seems missing something. I explained to you, and I also referred to that his discussion about tafriq bayn as-salatain and couldn't find this. Maybe there is something problem typing, whatever. So he says هذا والصحيح في مقام إثبات حجية المضمرات حتى لم يكن الراوي من أجلاء الأصحاب والتمسك بما تقدم. Something is missing. What is خبر? If it was الصحيح في المقام إثبات حجية المضمرات, this was making sense. But it doesn't say al-maqam. So we have to read الصحيح في مقام إثبات حجية المضمرات حتى لو لم يكن الراوي من أجلاء الأصحاب. Then what is خبر? التمسك بما تقدم is atf. But before that, jumla has to be complete. So something is missing here. Either it was as-sahihu fil maqam إثبات حجية المضمرات or something else. If it was as sahih fil maqam means that when there is muzmare, hadith muzmare, it is sahih, even if the rawi is not famous. But this al is not there, plus this doesn't match what he has said so far. If you want to send his idea, we don't know. So it's not very clear, this line, something is, as I said, missing in typing. Al-Ishqal al-Thani. The second problem, we said Al-Ishqal al-Awwal, if you remember here, Yushkal بضعف السند بالمروزی we mentioned. Then today we started وهناك إشكالات أخرى. إشكال أول was about إزمار, and we mentioned 2 answers, etc. Now we go to second إشكال. Second إشكال is not about مروزي or about إزمار. Ishqal about Marwazi, which we discussed last week and today I repeated at the beginning, is about Sanad. In the end is about Sanad. Ishqal about Izmar again is about Sanad. But Ishqal Thani is about Dalal. Okay? Let us again read the hadith or this text. إذا تمزمز الصائم في شهر رمضان أو استنشق متعمدا. Please be careful, we need this point. متعمدا. متعمدا is mentioned here in the middle. Either this متعمدا is for استنشق only or for استنشق and تمزمز, but it doesn't refer to the rest, what comes after it. It doesn't say شم رائحة غليظة متعمدا أو كنس بيتا فدخل في أنفه وحلقه غبار متعمدا. Okay, remember this because we need this. So الإشكال الثاني ما في المدارك والحدائق أيضا. The second إشكال is in مدارك الأحكام and حدائق, again بحراني and حدائق, الحدائق الناظرة. مدارك الأحكام آية الله خنصاري, سيد أحمد الخنصاري رحمة الله عليه. They have this إشكال دوم من اشتمال الرواية على ما لا يلتزم به. This riwayah, if we suppose it is riwayah, has something that لا يلتزم به. No one can be multazim, means no one can accept, no one can commit himself to this. No faqih can give fatwa in this way. What is that? It says, I repeat it again, إذا تمزمز الصائم في شهر رمضان أو استنشق متعمدا أو شم رائحة غليظة أو كنس بيتا فدخل في أنفه وحلقه غبار فعليه الصوم شهرين متتابعين. يعني كفاره. خب about غبار we are discussing, but who said fragrance makes fasting void and there is kafara? Or if you refresh your mouth with water and make sure that all the water is poured outside, or you put in nose and pour it outside, who said, which faqih can accept that this is making fasting void and needs kafara? No one can be multazim to this. Okay, so إشكال ثاني is this. من اشتمال الرواية على ما لا يلتزم به, means no one can be committed to this. وهو وجوب الكفارة في المضمضة والاستنشاق وشم الرائحة الغليظة. About ghibar, some people have said, you remember we said there are 4 opinions about ghibar. Some people may say about ghibar, but these 3, no one accepts that they need kafara. وإذا أمكن تقييد الأولى بما إذا أديا إلى وصول الماء إلى الحلق بقرينة سائر الأخبار. If someone says, I have a solution, when it says تمزمز أو استنشق, it means تمزمز أو استنشق and water went through throat. So we add this qaid, taqyid. So the first part of this muzmara, we say this is conditional upon leading to water reaching halq. Why you make such addition? So based on the other hadith, because from other hadith we know that istinshaq and mazmaza has no problem. بقرينة سائر الأخبار. What about شم الرائحة? What solution you have for that? If you say, okay, based on other ahadith, we make taqyid and we say it is mutlaq, should be muqayyad, that water reaches inside. What about fragrance? فيبقى شم الرائحة لا يمكن فيه ذلك. This taqyid cannot be, you cannot say if raiha reaches the throat is a problem. Even if raiha reaches the throat, there is no problem. Then the only thing that remains, the only solution is to say that this is about mustahab, something mustahab. We say that for ghibar it's mustahab, because if it say wajib, then for other things definitely it's not wajib. So if it says there is kafara, then must be say it's better to give kafara. ومعه لابد من حمل الرواية على الاستحباب بلحاظ الغبار. So we should say because of ghibar is mustahab, and therefore we mean for the rest also the same. خب أجيب عنه, there's an answer here. بما في الجواهر وغيره. One answer is this. Sahib Jawahir says, don't fear about this issue. Why? Although this is one hadith, but it's possible to cut it into several sentences, as if there are several hadiths. With respect to madmada and istinshaq, okay, there is problem. You cannot say kafara is needed. There is evidence. With respect to ghibar, we can interpret it differently. Over there we can say ghibar needs kafara if it reaches the throat. So we don't need to interpret all subjects and their ahkam in the same way. So what is in Jawahir by Sahib Jawahir and other books, I mean book or books other than Jawahir, من أن الخبر المذكور بمثابة أخبار متعددة. This is like several hadiths. وإن اتحد الجواب, although jawab that he must fast 2 months, that jawab is mentioned once. It doesn't say من تمزمز أو استنشق فعليه صوم شهرين متابعة. من شم رائحة غليظة عليه صوم شهرين متتابعين. من أوصل الغبار إلى جوفه فعليه مثلا صوم شهرين. If it was like this, of course, it was obvious. But it says still, it's like several hadiths, although jawab is the same. وإن اتحد الجواب يعني صوم شهرين متتابعين. كأنه قال إذا تمزمز الصائم فعليه صوم شهرين، وإذا استنشق فعليه صوم شهرين، إذا شم رائحة غدا فعليه صوم شهرين، إذا أوصل مثلا قبال جوفه فعليه صوم شهرين. خب, with respect to some of them you said no one will be multazim with the first 3. خب, what about the 4th? لا يلزم من رفض بعضها رفض البقية. When some of them has to be rejected, kafara for the first 3 cannot be accepted. Okay, why you rejected others? Which is the last one about ghibar. So this is one answer. The second thing is ما ذكره بعض الأعلام. Again from Sayyid al-Khuyi in مستند العروة الوثقى. This is تقريرات درس خارج سيد الخوي. ما ذكره بعض الأعلام من أن إرادة الاستحباب في بعض الفقرات لا تستلزم رفع اليد عن الظهور في الوجوب بلحاظة بقية الفقرات. So this بعض الأعلام has said that if there are 4 faqra, 4 parts, if in one of them we have to take it as istihbab, which is the first and second and the third, then it doesn't mean that the 4th cannot be for wujub. If for some of them we have to do raf'ul yad, means we have to leave, we cannot commit to wujub. Why for the other one cannot, the last one cannot be wujub? Wujub remains. لا تلزم رفع اليد عن الظهور في الوجوب بلحاظة بقية الفقرات. خب. Then Sheikh Irwani answers. With respect to the one which says this is indeed like 4 hadiths, although jawab is 1, he say, does Urf accept this? Because Zuhur is Hujjah according to Siriya Uqala in Usul al-Fiqh. We discussed this. Zuhur al-Alfaz is Hujjah based on Siriya Uqala, which is accepted by Sharia, by Sharia Muqaddas. But here, Uqala would not consider this as 4 texts or 4, separate things. Especially اتحد الجواب. So this one problem. يندفع الجواب الأول بأنه لو سلم. If we accept فإن, and if we accept there are 4 like hadith, إن مدرك حجية الظهور هو السيرة العقلائية الممضاة. الممضاة يعني التي أمزيت من قبل الشارع. Because عقلاء by themselves are not معصوم. But سيرة عقلاء, if it is accepted by شارع, because عقلاء, سيرة عقلاء is different from عقل. حکم عقل is hujjah. If there is decisive judgment of aql, it doesn't need imza. But if it is binaya uqala, siriya uqala, then shara may accept, may not accept me. So I have reservation here. I have problem here. So there's difference between حکم العقل و سیره عقلا. سیره عقلا needs امضا. سیره عقلا is reasonable people, but not everything reasonable people do is based on hujjah. It's not based on burhan or decisive rational judgment. So zuhur is sireh uqala, that they act according to zuhur of alfaz, and Sharih has not rejected this. خب. Here in this case لا جزم بانعقادها على التفكيك بين ظهورات الأخبار المتعددة المذكورة في سياق واحد. We don't have jazm. We are not sure that Sireh Uqala is here, is established here, has taken form here for dividing these zuhurat and saying, we have 4 zuhur, 4 sentences, 4 zuhur, when they are mentioned in the same context, siyaq and wahid. If we don't say it's 1, at least we say it's ambiguous, whether it's 1 or 4. The minimum is to say it's ambiguous. Otherwise, we want to say it's 1. بل يحتمل إجمالها عندهم في مثل ذلك. It's possible that Uqala have no such a thing. Even ihtimal of Uqala not accepting this is enough. إذا جاء الاحتمال بطل الاستدلال. With respect to the second, I mentioned only this, then we leave the third ishkal for next week inshallah. بأنه إنما يتم في قوله فعليه صوم شهرين متتابعين للظهور عليه في الطلب. خب, with respect to عليه, upon him, the one who does these things, we said مذمذة استنشاق or شم رائحة غليظة أو أوصل قبال مثلا لجوفه. خب, عليه صوم شهرين متتابعين. Maybe here you say, we divided and, Aql says, for one of them, this عليه is demand, talab, which is wujubi. For some of them is istihbabi. Okay. But what about فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَهُ مُفْطِرٌ? Here then you cannot say إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَهُ مُفْطِرٌ means it's better to be muftir or better to be considered as muftir. It is ظاهر في البطلان. فلا يتم يعني ذاك الجواب لا يتم للظهور مفتر في البطلان. لماذا لا يتم؟ Because مفتر إن ذلك له مفترون is ظاهر في البطلان, means fasting has become void. فلا يمكن التفكيك إلا بما تقدم من الجواهر, unless we say according to what Sahib Jawahir said, and the same problem that we said over there repeats. So this is second ishkal. This is dalali. First ishkal was about sanad. The third ishkal is about ta'aruz, conflict with another hadith, with Mubathaqi Amr ibn Sa'id, that inshallah we discuss in the next session bi'iznillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.